Right, hi guys, how you doing? Now, back to it. Actually, before I start, just on the subject of extra stuff you can use for your guns, where you can find stuff, keep your eyes open, because I recently went to my work to pick up some crates for some machinery they had delivered. And the crates were held together with this stuff, but it had these cool little, simple, I suppose you call it strap buckles. Just bent bit of metal, doubled over, and you could easily use that like one of these, one of those. So, got a fair few of them and all this loose strap. The strap's pretty tough too, but I don't know what I could use it for unless I could dye it somehow. And also on that, I just finished this one for a friend. This is just a strong arm, it's just been painted up. The only thing I've added are these, which are fluoro starters from your fluoro units in the roof, because we've just had all our lights changed over to LED. So yeah, they're just painted up to blend in. The gun still works as normal. And I've bought a little thing at a Trash and Treasure, which is, you know, one of the car park markets, which is like a claw, which I'll hang off there like a little totem, you know, so just make the gun look cool. So that's that. So just keep your eyes out open for stuff. And speaking of that, at that same Trash and Treasure, I got myself 2 belts, which was pretty cool, one of which I'll need for this thing. And finally found some cutting boards. Now they're not very big, and I don't know if they're going to work, but there's only a couple of bucks. And I'm going to play around with them for a minute and see if I can find the best way to mount them. I've already, you know, I've been going through this in my mind for weeks and months while I've been thinking about this, and I've got a fair idea. I just want to see how big it actually is and looks next to the gun. Okay, so this is the very first time I'm doing this. So, yes, okay, so this is pretty good. What I might have to do is cut along there and cut across there to make a section so I can just slot down over the top of the board like that. And what I'm planning to do, if I can find my trusty texture, is if ever losing the bloody thing. Alright. So, if I do a cut down, oh god, textures don't really mark chopping board very well. Okay, if I do a cut down there, which I hope you can see that, and across there and down there, or however wide the actual body of that is, it'll sit on across like something like that. I'm trying to get all this in the screen, it's murder one-handed, but okay, something like that. And what I'll do is I'll put a bevel cut there, round it up and go around. It's basically, one of the main reasons I'm putting it in, it's basically going to be an anchor point for the magazine to sit behind it. And it makes sense to put a little shield in front of your magazine, because you don't want your magazine getting hit while you're charging in somewhere. So, as you can see, and I've already put a bolt in that, and I'll just put a recess in that it sits in. So I'll be sitting there at the front there with the shield there holding it. And the back here, I've been playing around with some little metal parts I found. And this will bolt to the side of the gun or something like this, and I'll have like a spring-loaded catch. I'll have to work it out. This is just something I knocked together really quickly. I actually found this part when I was out walking the dog. I have no idea where it came from, what it's off, but it will bolt on the side of the gun very simply, and that will allow me to have the magazine held in a good solid place. Now this came with 2 cutting boards, because of course it would, and so what I'll do with the second one, I'll cut that the similar shape, just smaller, and mount it on the centre, so it looks like armour plating. And if I can work it out, I'd like to mount them with a slot cut in it. I know it's tempting to use that, but I can't. a slot cut in it, because I got something else the other day at a Goodwill shop, which was this, unused, a green plastic transparent floorboard. So you can imagine 2 layers of that trapped between there. Actually, don't have to imagine, I can do a quick mock-up. Something like that, and you'll be able to see, when there's a layer upon layer, you'll be able to see like laminated glass in there. So that will be pretty cool. I'm rapidly becoming to think that this is too small. I have got a bigger one inside, but it's very thin and it's just plastic, and this also has a texture on it, which I'll have to see if I can sand off, because I don't want lines cutting up through the texture. It'll look unbalanced, and especially if I stain this, all the stain's going to get into that texture and you'll see it. So that's going to require some major sanding if I do it. Might have been a bad buy, but never mind. So I'll start working things out in my head and chopping stuff up and get back to you soon, hopefully. Okay, bye now. Right guys, after doing a lot of thinking on this, I reckon I can use this, but what I'm going to do is first, I hope you can see that, I don't know if you can, you see the areas I've blacked out. So basically the shield's going to be that shape. There's a cutout for the gun. You notice quite narrow, because what I'm going to do, I'm not going to position it over here, I'm going to position it over here, which will, one, help hide this shocking job I did here. Sit on that, have a little cutout, hang down a little bit. Yeah, so it'll help disguise that mess, and it'll make it a lot easier at this area getting over the top, because all I need to do is cut a little groove to go over there. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to start chopping into that straight away. Took long enough to find it. I'll get myself a piece of cardboard the same size, mark out the dimensions, because this is very rough as you can tell, and start by fitting the cardboard over the fore end, making get a nice fit, then shape the rest of it, see how it looks, and then transfer all the measurements from my theoretical piece of cardboard to this, probably simply by putting it on top and just tracing around it. So I'll get on with that, and I'll get back to you in a day or two. Alright, bye now. Okay guys, here we are. It's been a few days, more like a week, but finally back to it. Now, as you can see, that's my wooden shield shape. Not quite happy with it. I'm going to have to redesign it. So I cut a rough hole for the actual gun body. Then I did the simple thing of cutting paper to fit and sticking it, putting a lot of white glue down, so that's gone pretty stiff. Pull that off, and I can just lay that on my chopping board, trace around it. So I'll get started on that, and I'll get back to you when I'm done. Bye. Okay guys, got my little mock-up off. This is just MDF, so it doesn't matter for damage. Little thing, note for the future, if you ever do this, mark where your screw is when you're putting the paper down, because I had to dig to find that side. But anyway, so what I'll do, turn it around, put it on that side, where I can make it fit. Make sure it fits in the parameters, the size, and then the only bit I have to worry about is when I'm tracing along the edge of this paper. Oops, get it in this shot. Tracing along the edge of that paper. See, that's the rough hole that goes around the putty I put in, and that should mate up to, hides it really nicely. Now what I've done, I've just quickly roughed in what I'm going to cut off from here, and I'll just do that first, then I can whack it on there. And if I cut off some that way, I can actually extend this side a bit. Possibly, depends on what it looks like. I also have to cut off all that paper there, which is quite easy, just done. So I'll go and work on this and get back to you. Bye now. Okay guys, now there's my new shape. Cut that off, and I've decided to give it a try something. Instead of cutting it out on that side and using it solid, I'm going to cut out this side and actually incorporate this little handhold, make it a handle on the shield, and placing my the template on the cutting board and just using my trusty textures and pencils. I've cut out the exact shape I need to do, and I'll cut that scroll saw, but first I'm just going to neaten that up. Now, wasn't that amazingly annoying? What happens is when you're cutting, little bits of plastic get pushed down and melt and then reform. And that's in the little hole where the saw goes through. So as you move forward, it jams. So as a consequence, you've got to cut out tiny little bits at a time, rip them out with the pliers because they re-melt onto the board, and do it all over again. So I'll clean up this hole and see about getting it fitted, and then I'll get back to you. Bye now. Okay, so of course a lot's happened between the last video and this one. I just powered on. So there we have our little shield. So just two different cutting boards. This is nylon, this is just plastic, so this was a little bit easy to work with, but still a pretty horrible gap. So I'm probably going to have to do the wax paper around there and putty in there, fill, and hope it doesn't stick to that, so I can take this on and off when I need to. What else? Oh yes, I shortened the shield. This one's painted to look like armour plate. The magazine, which has got just a simple little nut and bolt in the end, I'm going to cut a corresponding recess in this one. It's fixed, and this will be sticking out the back, which is a detail. So that goes about there. We'll get to that next time, because right now it's December in Western Australia, so it's red hot in this shed. So I'll see you later, guys.